I'm here with Natalie Peace from Booster Juice, a local entrepreneur and inspiring person. Thank you for joining us in the studio today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So let's start with talking about your business, Booster Juice. I think a lot of people in town have seen the brand out there. Probably most of us have tried the juice.
Oh, good.
But tell us about the starting of Booster Juice. You as a young entrepreneur.
Well, for me, Booster Juice as a franchise started with a lot of research. So Booster Juice had existed because it's a franchise. It had been around for about 10 years when I got involved. But I was working my way through my business degree at Thompson Rivers University and felt motivated to go into business for myself. And the key for me, the reason I was wanting to get into business, was truly to make a difference, to find a way to make a contribution. And I felt like there was a huge opportunity in the area of healthy and nutritious fast food, because I was that target market who was looking for that. And I started to create my business plan, and I had some great support from some of the professors at the university through my business classes, and I was creating a plan for healthy and nutritious and my own, so my own small business.
And this was before Booster Juice. So this was
Just
you're creating something from scratch yourself.
Right, and dreaming big.
Yep.
And I had some great feedback from one of my professors who suggested that the likelihood of success as an independent in that industry is very minimal. So he suggested I look at franchises. And so I did. I became diligent about researching what was out there and the trends, but also I was looking for something that was in line with my personal values. And so there would be companies that I came across that on the surface might look like they met the idea of healthy, nutritious fast food. However, underneath it all, although they would maybe have great margins, they might have been made with syrups or powdered fruit, and it wasn't truly clearly in line with what it was I wanted to bring to our city.
Right.
And then I found Booster Juice, and I loved the fact that it was made with whole fruit, so whole strawberries, and you can watch it being blended based on the way the store is set up. And so it was something that it didn't cut corners, and it was 4 full servings of fruit according to the Canadian Health Food Guide in a full-size smoothie, which is phenomenal, right? You look at little kids, and now to this day I still have parents who come in and say I can't get them to eat their fruits and vegetables, but they'll have a Booster Juice because they think it's a treat, right? Which is great. Don't tell them it's good for them is what they'll say. So so I found the store and the business, and then worked hard at finishing my degree and opening the business at the same time. So I was working. So
you're running the business, and then you're going during the day to school, taking your classes. You've got employees, and you have to come back and forth between.
Yeah, I would be in class with smoothie on my shirt and try and make it back to the store for our lunch rush. And I was the only one with the key to the store in the beginning, so I'd open at early 6:45 in the morning, and then work through the day, go to class, come home at night, often around 11 after we'd closed and cleaned, and work on doing my cash out for the day and my homework. And so I'd fall asleep, night after
night. In the
night.
store.
Almost. Sometimes it happened like that. Yeah, wow. I was exhausted. And, I was in the city at that point in time without family in the city. So I was really working at it on my own. But I had a goal. And so those long hours, more than anything, felt phenomenal, right? I felt like I was working towards something spectacular. Was
there a point that you came to where a big change happened? I mean, you've gone from this entrepreneur working really hard, going to school at the same time. You now have 3 stores.
I do.
Many employees in town.
Yeah, 50 employees now between the 3 stores.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and it's been 4.5 years since that store. And you're doing
all of these great works in the community. I mean,
thank you.
Incredible. Tell us about this intentional acts of kindness program that you've started.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's super exciting. So my goal was I'm in business with the purpose to be making a contribution, right? I was clear on that right from the beginning. And so all the way through, I was focused on, especially with my crew. Like I was, at the time I opened my first store, I was 25 years old, and I was hiring people that were close to my age, right? And I wasn't a rich kid or anything growing up, so I was relatable to them very much, right? Except I was really clear on setting goals and working towards those things, and surrounding myself with the people that I wanted to be most like, right? And so I would share that with them, and our staff meetings were more about those kinds of things. And I felt great about the fact that I was in business making a contribution to my crew. So that was one of the ways I felt like I was measuring that success. And recently, there was just this phenomenal moment in time where, when a great idea hits, everything falls into place flawlessly. And it just fell into place perfectly that I could extend the challenge to the community to follow through with something that we had been doing in our stores for the last couple months, and that was acts of kindness. So I had put the challenge out to the community, but that stemmed from the fact that over the 2.5 months preceding that, I had created shifts on our work schedules at all 3 of the Booster Juice locations that were acts of kindness shifts. So my crew's sole responsibility for that shift was to show up to work in their Booster Juice uniform and use that as their home base, and then do acts of kindness. Whatever act of kindness they were motivated to do. What I didn't want it to be
walk
was
out the front door of the shop.
Yep.
And go find somebody and do something nice.
And I had a list of suggestions for the things that they could be doing. Things like washing neighbors' front windows, neighboring businesses' front windows, or helping people out to their car with if they had their hands full. A mom with her hands full and a tray of smoothies. But it didn't have to just be about our store. It could be whatever they wanted to do. And I really felt like I was tapping into their creative ideas. I didn't want to have, the boss says these are the things that you're supposed to do. It wasn't about that at all. It was about an opportunity that I could extend to my crew to feel how it feels to be giving, because they're at a point in their life where they're forming opinions and they're figuring themselves out. And so if you're figuring out who you are along the way, and you're realizing this is how good it feels to be out there doing kind things, my hope would be that would stay with them through the rest of their lives.
Let me just to recap. I just want to make sure that I've got this straight. So you had shifts of employees.
Right. So included on one, so let's say, in one day, there would be one person who was set out on the schedule. They would look, and it rotated. I wanted everybody to have that chance. So it rotated through all 50 people, and they would show up to work. They knew that they were on an act of kindness shift.
They showed up to work.
Yeah.
In their clothes, their Booster Juice uniform.
Yeah.
And then you would send them out the door and to go and do some random act of kindness for someone.
Right.
That's what their responsibility was that shift.
Right.
And you paid them a wage to do this.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, they were showing up for work. And so they would have, 5 or 6 hours where they could do lots of different things. That's 5 or 6 hours is a lot of time. And there could be things in the store as well if they wanted to do something for people in the store. But what I was really clear about is I did not want them to be making smoothies. I didn't want them to be doing their regular type of tasks. They could, if they wanted to, support the crew if they got really busy and figure out a way that they could help the crew be making smoothies. But I didn't want them to be physically making smoothies, right? So it had to push them out of their own comfort zone.
And inspire them to go out and do something, give back to the community.
Right. So if I have, in business, I was, doing an analysis of what do I have as my resources right now to make a difference. And I realized I have an opportunity with my crew to be paying them to figure some things out for themselves as well as benefit the community. So that's where the idea stemmed from. It was actually a brainstorming session with all of my managers. I've got a manager in each store. Everybody's worked their way up through the ranks, and some of them, so now they've been promoted to store manager. And we are always looking for how can we make a difference. And so it came from one of those our managers meetings, and it sounds scary and formal, a managers meeting, but really it's about what can we be doing along the way. So what was so amazing about it is at the end of their shift, I had a book in the back of the store, and it was the Acts of Kindness book, and it starts with a message from me. This is what we're doing. This is our goal here. How can we make a contribution to our community, and how can I be making a contribution to you as my crew? And I told them that at the end of their shift, I wanted them to take the last 10 or 15 minutes, and they have to do this. This is mandatory if they're going to be on this shift, to write about their experience. And specifically what I'd asked them was, how did they feel when they were doing these acts of kindness, and how were they received, as well as what it is that they did, so they can read each other's work and why reinvent the wheel, right? If you have an idea and I have an idea, together it can create synergy. So they would feed off one another and, and steal each other's ideas and make them even bigger. And what I was reading about, because it was also an opportunity for
you to be inspired,
for me to be inspired by them, right? And what I would read about is, how at the very beginning they were very nervous. They would say, I've been nervous all week about showing up for this shift, and at first I didn't know what I was going to do, and then all the way through it, I just felt so good. People were so surprised. Really? Just a random act of kindness? And the crew member would say, yeah, just a random act of kindness. And they felt so good, right? And so it was incredible to read the progression that most of them would go through from the very beginning to the end of their shift. And hopefully they take that with them throughout their life. So if they're with me for a very small amount of time, and you think, I understand I'm a stepping stone job on their way, hopefully, to great things. But my goal is to make my time with them a true contribution on their way. So,
and it's so much more than just the money that we make. I know that other people have said that in the past, but I found that, after the basic necessities are taken care of, what are we taking out of the job, right? And it needs to be more than just a paycheck.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
and what's incredible is over the years, so I've had over 350 employees that over time through Kamloops that are either here for the summer or they're working their way through university and they go on to graduate. And what's incredible is I'll have people that'll go away and they'll come back again, and sometimes it's their first job, so they're learning that this isn't necessarily the way all businesses operate, and so my hope is that they take this with them in whatever they're doing hopefully as a leader in their life later on, and it just continues to ripple. But what ended up coming of that is the moment of where I was saying I had this one moment where the idea just came into
fit into place,
right? Because we were coming to an end with the summer, and I didn't have as many staff members that I could work with as resources to do these acts of kindness shifts anymore. Plus, it's a huge expense, right? I was running my labor cost very high,
right?
And I felt like it was weighing on my mind. I know there's something more here, but I wasn't sure what it was, and it was coming to an end because it had to, in the form that it was.
Right.
And when the idea hit, it was, we've led here. We have shown the community through our acts of kindness
what's possible,
shifts what is possible, and you can't lead where you don't go yourself, right? Is one of the main tips that I would absolutely suggest to other people. Lead first, and then ask others to follow. So that was the case with our community. I thought, what a perfect opportunity to create an act of kindness challenge that I would then extend to our community. And it came in the form of a 22-day act of kindness challenge where, should people take the pledge, they would be signing up to do one intentional act of kindness a day for 22 days. And the reason that the 22 days was so important is that we know that it takes the brain 21 days to create a habit of doing something consistently, to create that habit, which is the most challenging time, is when you're trying to create something new. You're trying to undo what has, what maybe is not working and create a new habit, right? Also to break a habit. But in this case, we're using something positive, right? It's to create the habit of kindness. So the 22nd day, so 21 days to create a habit, the 22nd day is to follow through. So hopefully by the 22nd day, in fact, it does not end there.
It's part of your daily routine.
Hopefully it just continues on. So
awesome.
If people were going to take the challenge, what we asked is that they'd come into one of the Booster Juice locations, and we had paper handprints, like a cutout of a paper hand, and it said on the palm of the hand, I pledge to do one random act of kindness a day for 22 days, and they would sign their name to the palm of the hand. And the reason the palm of the hand was so important was, what are you doing with how are you reaching out to one another, right? And what are you doing with your hands? But it's symbolic of your time and who you are, right? And the question of who are you along the way, right?
Yep.
And so it was offering an opportunity for people to evaluate that and to be choosing more things right, and to recognize the abundance in their own lives and wanting to pay it forward in the form of something kind for our community members.
And so how has the program worked out?
It's been phenomenal. So it's just been incredible. We're at almost 2,000 people in the last, I think we're almost at not even 3 months, 2.5 months now, that people have chosen to participate and take the challenge and committing to do the one act of kindness.
2,000 people.
Almost 2,000 people.
22 days.
22 days.
That's 44,000 random acts of kindness.
That's a lot, and it's still growing. Like
That's
still,
amazing.
It's not that it just started on one day and then at the 22nd day it ended. It's ongoing. So when people would sign the palm of the hand, we would post them up all around the store. So visually, when you walk into any of the Booster Juices in Kamloops, you can see these are the people in our community, and hopefully the ripple effect is something truly spectacular. And what's the other part of it is I've extended the challenge through my website to people all around the world, and so people are signing up through the website all over the States, all over Canada. I've even had some people as far as India take the challenge.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
And so the website address is nataliepeace.com?
It is, yeah.
So NATALIE
Yeah.
PEACE.com.
That's right,
NataliePeace.com. So we've talked about Booster Juice. We've talked about a little bit of where the Intentional Acts of Kindness program has come from, and what you're doing there. Your reason for being in business, really.
Right.
But I know that there's a lot of people out there that are maybe they're being inspired, like me. Listening to you talk about business and the difference that you can make in your community and in people's lives. What would your advice to those people that are maybe considering getting into business for the first time in their lives?
Yeah.
What would your advice be for them?
Well, I think, there's 3 things that really stand out to me. The first is hire the right people. And that's different for each business. So getting crystal clear on what the right people means for your business. And for me, that's people who have a neat energy about them and make my customers feel welcomed when they walk into my store. And in my case, a lot of my crew, it's their very first job. So in an interview, it can be a stressful situation, especially when it's your first interview or your first job. And I'll look for the way they set me at ease. I want them to feel, I want them to be intentional in making me feel comfortable, because my hope is that's how they'll make my customers feel when they're in a stressful situation, when there's a lineup or it's a lunch rush. Hopefully they create that sense of welcoming. So that's the first one, hire the right people. And like I said, it's different for each company.
Right.
The next one is, in my opinion, it's the true mark of an excellent entrepreneur to be creative. And, business can take on this traditional in-the-box kind of shape sometimes. And what we want to do is...
Especially if you're buying a franchise like you did.
Right. That's such a good point. You're right. And so there can be some limitations there, either physical or just mentally, that we need to overcome. So in challenging times, with challenges with the economy or whatever those challenges might be, it's an opportunity for us to reevaluate what we're doing and how we're spending those marketing dollars, and really being creative with what it is you're doing with that marketing.
So in your case, like a good example of being creative is taking that Intentional Acts of Kindness program that you were doing with your crew and taking it out to your customers.
Right. Well, even with that one, what we did was the marketing side of that was, my crew said to me, we were nervous to approach people, and could you let them know somehow what it is we're doing? And so it became, I realized that they were telling me I had an opportunity to share with people what it was we were doing, because I was just doing this for them. It wasn't about...
Right.
It wasn't, at that point in time, it wasn't about telling anybody about it.
And it was anonymous at the beginning.
Absolutely, right? And so they were saying to me, can we let people know? And so we created some radio advertisements that explained, if you're approached by somebody, this is in a Booster Juice uniform, this is what they're doing. They're authentic. This is their purpose. They're supposed to be, doing this. And then we challenged people at that point in time to pay it forward. And so the marketing kind of took on its own energy that hadn't really been done before. And my hope is that other businesses will be inspired by something like this,
right,
and do their own version of it, something that fits for them, and get creative in their own way, in whatever fits for their organization. So that's the next tip. And then I would say the last one is measure your success on multiple bottom lines, because that then challenges you to look at what it is you're doing with your business. And it's not just about the traditional bottom line that we think of being profit. It's that can fluctuate, seasons and all of these things that we see in business. And yet there's an opportunity for us to be setting real measurable goals in other areas. And for me, those other bottom lines are contribution to my crew, contribution to my community, and that's where some of these ideas came from, was that we have these other bottom lines that we are setting and achieving goals on. And so for me, 2,000 people signing up for the Acts of Kindness Challenge, that's a huge success.
And more to come.
And more to come, absolutely.
Well, I know that I'm going to be coming down there, and I'm going to be making a pledge myself. On behalf of our staff and the Race 2 Million team members and our entire entrepreneurial young audience out there, I'd like to say a special thank you for being here with us today, providing us such great inspiration and advice. And I'd like to give you a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you.
In keeping with your beliefs, I'd like to give you this great Race 2 Million t-shirt that actually is made with fair labor practices and environmentally friendly products.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And to take a page from your book about adding a little bit of creativity to your Pay It Forward campaign, and maybe a little bit of measurability, I'd like to give you this Thanks a Million card and ask you to pay it forward. There's a serial number on the back. You can enter it online and watch as your thanks has a ripple effect around the world.
What a great idea. Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to be here.
And I hope that you'll come back again.
Absolutely. Thank you.